All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and today we're going to talk about the newly announced M2 CS. This is a car that was teased a couple weeks ago when they revealed the M2 Racing. There was, the M2 Racing on one side of the room, but on the other side of that BMW blog video, there was another M2 under a cover. And a lot of you guys correctly guessed in the comments that it was an M2 CS, and now we know that is exactly what that car is. So the good news is we've got a lot more information now on what makes the M2CS special, but unfortunately a lot of people are disappointed. Some people are even calling it potentially just a cash grab or something that didn't really go through the full effort from BMW to give it the real CS treatment. So in this video, we'll talk about all of the details that go into the M2CS, and you can maybe make that decision for yourself. So let's go ahead and talk about it.
Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future.
Now, this whole reveal was actually pretty weird because about a week ago at the Concours d'Elegance, BMW revealed the M2 CS at the show, but gave us no actual information. So they unveiled it, showed everybody what it looked like, and they even released a press release with some additional pictures. But if you zoom in on the release, you see it actually just says you need to wait for the official release on the 28th. But now finally the 28th is here, so we've got all of the information on the specs for the M2 CS. So I think the main thing most people are looking for is a performance bump, and absolutely that is coming with the M2 CS. It is 523 horsepower, so that is an extra 50 horsepower compared to the standard M2 with an automatic transmission. And it also has 479 foot-pounds of torque, which is, again, a nice torque bump compared to the stock M2. So the car does perform a lot better. They dropped the 0 to 60 by 0.2 seconds. Now the 0 to 60 is 3.7 seconds, but that's not the only thing they did to help improve the performance. The car has a pretty significant weight savings as well. So now it comes in at 3,770 pounds. That's over 90 pounds lighter than the standard BMW M2 with an automatic transmission, and over 40 pounds lighter than a BMW M2 with a manual trans. So they definitely went the extra steps to make sure this car was lighter. And the way that they did that was primarily using carbon fiber reinforced plastic components. So you'll see a lot of parts like the carbon fiber roof, the carbon fiber rear diffuser, as well as the iconic CSL style trunk that they fitted onto the M2. This is also mated from CFRP. And this is probably the main thing a lot of people were looking for. They really like this ducktail spoiler. This is a design cue kind of coming from the old E46 M3 CSL, and now they've put it into the M2 CS. Now, when you come to the front of the car, there is a matte black front splitter, which we'll talk about a little more later, but basically a standard black plastic front splitter. And then they've also got kidney grills that have been redesigned. The overall shape and outline in the bumper is the same, but the actual slats inside the grill, as well, of course, the CS logo itself is unique to the M2 CS. The car also comes with unique tuning for the entire drivetrain. So all of the adjustable suspension components, the differential, everything that you can adjust and tune in the car is specifically dialed in for the M2 CS based on the additional horsepower and the lower weight. It also comes with forged wheels, which these are the same wheels that we've seen on a lot of the other CS models. So I think that was a welcome and expected addition. And then it comes with a couple different tire options, including what they call a track and an ultra track tire, which I'm assuming is just going to be a Michelin Sport Cup 2 and probably a Cup 2R. It only comes with 4 exterior color options standard. So there are 3 base colors as well as 1 individual color. And then on the interior, there's only 1 interior color option as well, but it does come standard with the carbon buckets. So that's a nice touch with the CS logo up near the headrests. Now let's go a little bit into the controversy, because again, a lot of people were expecting this car to be a lot more different compared to the base M2 based on what some other CS models have indicated when they were released. We expected it to get the full CS treatment, but there were a lot of areas where it fell short. One big one is, I think, even though the car has some carbon fiber, it doesn't have the carbon fiber hood that we saw in the M3 CS as well as the M4 CS. It also has less power than the other CS models that come in at 550 horsepower, so it's 27 horsepower less, and really the horsepower that it has is the exact same horsepower you can get on an M3 or M4 Competition X Drive. And speaking of which, the car also doesn't have xDrive, so a lot of people were hoping that would come on the CS model, but it is still rear-wheel drive. There's also no manual option, which we saw on older M2 CS models like the F87. This one is only automatic, which I think is kind of linked to the power bump. BMW has historically said when they push cars to that higher torque level, they don't feel like the manual transmission can handle it, so it makes sense in this case that it's automatic only. The car is also still built in Mexico, which I don't think I was surprised by, but a lot of people were really hoping that it would be built in Germany like the M3 and M4. But because the other G42 and G87 vehicles are already built in Mexico, I would expect it to also be built there, since it is just kind of a special version of what's already being made. Now, when you're looking at it from the rear, you can see that it just has the regular base M2 muffler, which is kind of unfortunate. The other CS models got a titanium muffler, which helped further reduce the weight. But I guess because this car didn't come with xDrive, they didn't feel like they needed to go the extra steps to reduce the weight additionally. But it is nice that it does have the ducktail built into the trunk. You know, again, that's something that a lot of people like to see. And all of the other CS models have a small carbon fiber lip spoiler. So this is very unique to the M2 CS itself. Then moving to the front, it is pretty disappointing that the front lip is just matte black. A lot of people expected that to be carbon fiber as well. But you know, we're basically just getting a regular plastic front lip and no yellow DRLs, which was, I think, one of the main things a lot of people were complaining about. All the other CS models have yellow DRLs. All of us that don't have CS models put fake yellow DRLs on our cars just to get the look, and yet you're paying for an M2 CS from the factory and it has regular white halos. So is what it is. I think a lot of this has to do just with overall cost cutting. BMW historically has nerfed the M2, even if it has the same engine and drivetrain and suspension components that come on the M3 and M4. They make it a little bit softer, a little bit slower to help preserve the sales, because it needs to make sense for people to pay extra money for the M3 and M4. Otherwise, everybody would just get the M2 because it would be the best performer out of the bunch. So I'm not that surprised by, you know, having limited colors and not giving it xDrive, but it is still disappointing for a lot of people that were expecting that. Now, with all that in mind, the base price is still very high. It starts at over $98,000 and it closes in on $100,000 with the destination fees. Now, I think that is pretty crazy considering the base price of an M2 is around $68,000. I optioned one out a little bit on my own just to kind of see where the price would land. And you can see it was just over $73,000. I feel like that was kind of a well-balanced car. But if you fully load it, put every single option available, you got it up to $85,000. So this is almost $15,000 more than a fully loaded regular M2. And you have to ask yourself, is a carbon fiber trunk and an extra 50 horsepower worth it for that? You know, a lot of these things are stuff that we can do on the aftermarket. You can put a tune on your car. You know, you can add carbon fiber components. There are a lot of things coming out for the G87. So really the question is, being an M2 CS, you know, a limited production car, they're not going to make that many of them. It's only for one model year. Does that make the extra cost worth it? That's something that people that can afford it are going to have to decide. So again, limited run is coming up. It'll be for one model year starting at the end of this year. They said production will start in August and it should go on sale and start being delivered in the fall to everybody that orders one. So if this is something that you're interested in, hopefully you get an allocation. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. You know, do you think that it's getting harder and harder for these new cars to kind of set themselves apart when the special editions come out? Is this just kind of going to be the way things are? Even with, you know, the LCI models and other little refreshes BMW has done, the changes are always much smaller nowadays. There just isn't a lot that they do to the cars to set them apart. And maybe that's because of the economy and just kind of how sales are with these performance vehicles. But time will tell if we see anything different in the future. So more coming soon, but for now, I think that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.